From Rule 62 Studios in beautiful Bossier City, Louisiana, this is The Grouch and the Brainstorm. Welcome back to The Grouch and the Brainstorm. This is Mike. I'm here with Matt.
What's up?
And Jill.
Hey.
And we are going to talk about Step 11. Step 11. And we're also going to talk about blackouts. Not that they have anything to do with each other, but we're going to talk about blackouts. Okay. And we may get around to talking about pot-bellied pigs. We'll see. We might have a little bit of time. So we will start out by talking about Step 11 and how it reads in the, I got to get my big book ready. Why do I not have my big book ready?
Come on, Mike.
I know. I'm losing it, man. Step 11 suggests prayer and meditation. We shouldn't be shy on this matter of prayer. Better men than we are using it constantly. It works if we have the proper attitude and work at it. It would be easy to be vague about this matter, yet we believe we can make some definite and valuable suggestions. So, and it goes on to talk about when we retire at night and then upon awakening. That's where that is in the big book. If you're wondering, that is into action. It's at the very end of into action, or right at the end of into action. And what we do is it talks about prayer and meditation. And I would say this as a footnote before we just start going around. Prayer and meditation. It does not say prayer or meditation. So before we dive off into the guru of meditation, which is Matt.
I am.
Matt wakes up every morning, lights the incense in the house, walks around, or that's the bathroom. He lights the incense in the bathroom. Do a lot of yoga.
A lot of that.
A lot of yoga.
I have yoga pants.
Yeah, that's our listeners won't even forget that.
Meditation is Jill's department in this outfit.
Well, I think a lot of times in these meetings we do hear people talk about how they have a hard time concentrating on meditation, right?
Yes,
I get that.
Absolutely.
So, and man, what we'll do is I'll talk about it a little bit, but I want to hear. Let's not put prayer on the back burner, but let's talk about prayer second.
Okay.
Let's talk about meditation and what you think about meditation or what it means to you. Right?
Yeah.
And, we'll go with you, Jill. What do you?
Sure.
What do you think?
I actually love meditation, and there's many different forms of meditation. Some people just will read a little something. Some people, take it to transcendental meditation, and I was actually taught that as a adolescent. My mother, being an old hippie, was really big on that, crystals, all of it, and she taught me that around 11 or 12 years old, and I also did creative visualization, which is another form of meditation, but I have a bunch of guided meditations. Do I do it every day? No. Have there been times in my life where I did it every day? Absolutely. And it like Mike suggested earlier, it was hard. And that's why I didn't do it before I got sober much, because I couldn't sit for long, and I also could not keep my mind still. And it was just almost a joke to me, but it's a skill and it's something you definitely have to practice. And I did, and I kept on practicing it. And it's great because I learned how to be still in my head. And, after years of doing it, I can sit in a spot and I can get still and my brain will not do anything. And it's wonderful. And I've done it to the point where I don't even know where I am. What's the word I'm looking for? I can't feel my body.
Okay.
And it's almost like you're sitting there, and it's really weird. I know you're probably like, what the hell are you talking about, Jill? I
get it.
And I don't know where I am in relation to where I am. If that makes any sense. But I like I said, I really enjoy it. I now have guided meditations, some stuff from Deepak, and it's part of my recovery. It needs to be more part of my recovery. And I know the benefits of it because this kind of stuff can lower blood pressure. It can help your heart. The deep breathing that is, that happens along with it is very calming. and I know I should do more. And like I said, it brings me a lot of peace, like spiritually, but also mentally. And it's definitely a great tool. But what the meditation I do is probably not what a lot of people do. I just choose that route.
How often do you do that?
Oh, lately? I'm embarrassed to say like once a month.
Okay. No, that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, like, I need to be doing that more often, but I get in front of the TV, I get with my phone, and I'm playing games and watching a TV. Like, I really need to say, hey, put that shit on pause, because it's mind-numbing bullshit. Mm-hmm. And focus more on my sobriety and my peace of mind, because like meditation in that kind of form can create like more alertness, mental acuity, all kinds of fabulous things. It's very beneficial. But yeah, once a month. Yeah.
So what about you, man?
So I'm the opposite of Jill. For me, figuring out, and I'm gonna put this because I'm keep it pretty simple, but the mind not stopping, constantly running, figuring out a way to stop that without Jack Daniels to make the mind calm. So I've had things I'm not one of those guys that's gonna lay around and like we're joking about the yoga and all that stuff, but I can get on a lake or I can go walk down a bank. And this is so true, for the first 30, 45 minutes, my brain's still 100 miles an hour. But eventually I feel this settling down, and I'm out there, it's quiet, there's not a phone going, and I'm able to think about things and process them. And it's, in the way I would describe it, is my brain and spirit meet up. So they go the same speed.
I would like to call that mindfulness.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what it's called. It's just that that's what I've noticed in trying to but I'm able to think about things that I think about during the day that aggravate me or I feel rushed. I'm able to stop and put them almost in an order and go, okay, I'm going to think about this for a minute. Then I work through that. And I'm able to still think about all the issues, but it's organized. It's not stressful. And it takes me a little while to get to that point.
Yeah, it's just getting the chaos out and bringing the serenity in.
Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, and my problem, sobriety, in getting sober, was I can't get my brain to slow down. What little brain I have, I know, Mike, but what's left of it. But
it happens.
It does. But that was the issue, is like trying to figure out healthy ways to do that. And so, yeah, I guess you would call that meditation. But I just do it with a fishing rod in my hand most of the time. So.
Yeah.
And I get that. I get it. So I guess if I do meditate, it's just going to be sitting and pondering, maybe in traffic, because I get to see a lot of that, or before I turn a TV on, or while I'm just sitting in the tub, just looking off and thinking, but careful not to get into like morbid reflection,
Almost solution-based, like.
Yeah, just trying to, because it doesn't quiet. My mind doesn't go quiet, I don't think, ever. So that is, that's about all I can do when it comes to meditation. I think about the way the big book is written. And like I just read that paragraph, but it says it would be easy to be vague about this matter, yet we believe we can make some definite and valuable suggestions. And at that point, it talks about when we retire at night. Mm-hmm. And then we constructively review our day. Isn't that some form of meditation?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think so.
And I think, too, the fishing thing took me where it would take me hours to get that calm, starting out. And I just sort of noticed it. It was kind of a natural thing to where I was like, okay, this is like I'm chilled out here. But now I can do it at home, like you're talking about, turning the phone off or the TV, and just I'm able to do it not for as long, because I'm like Mike, I don't never slow down, so I have to have something going on.
It could also be like just being in the moment, being in the now.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. and that, I mean, it just takes practice, and, you know, I can tell when I hadn't done it in a while, and I get out there and I'm aggravated, or I can start to feel when we need to balance stuff out, you know, a little better, but.
Well, I think that meditation probably is one of those very personal things, you know, just kind of how you do it, or when you do it, or if you do it, or can you do it, I guess, is on an individual level. I will say that the older I get, it's been easier. You know, it's been easier for me just to stop and, you know, think maybe, but even after 5 or 10 minutes of just sitting there stopping and thinking, I start to get aggravated about something or another, and I kind of, you know, that's not the direction meditation's supposed to take you. You know, it's supposed to take you to some form of answer or calmness. Page 13 in the big book, Bill Wilson talks about, you know, and that's where he goes through basically all of the steps. But he talks about, I was to sit quietly when in doubt and ask for direction. You know, have you ever done that? Have you ever sat quietly when in doubt and asked?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, I'll take it a step further too, and it just kind of occurred to me. It never occurred to me till now, but so, and I fish with my sponsor quite a bit. When he and I go, now today we're going with another guy when we get through here, and it'll be rowdy because we have fun, but it won't be a meditation day today, I can tell you. But a lot of times when he and I are out there, he's doing that same thing. When it's just him and me, it's very quiet. We don't talk a lot, but when we do, it's kind of like, hey, what about this? And it's a nice flow to it, like just kind of work through stuff, you know, and but you're not in a hurry to do it. You're not sitting down doing a checklist or any of that stuff. And you know, so it's almost like it's meditation, but somebody else is there, you know. And you know, it won't be any meditating today, though, I can tell you.
Okay.
Character we're going with today. So.
Well, you're going today. You're going.
Yeah, we're going after this.
Okay, nice. So. I hear a lot of people say this in the rooms. They will say that, you know, prayer is talking to God and meditation is listening to God. I haven't ever heard anything, but it's more like my intuition, or...
Am I paying attention to the signs life's throwing me?
Exactly.
Maybe that's it. I don't.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not one of them that can do the. Mine's just a very practical, simple way of doing it, and I guess it's just a way of reviewing issues and problems without being stressed and rushed through it.
Right.
Is the way I.
And like I said, there's many different forms. I happen to do the hippie. The Buddhist way of it. Yeah,
I had a friend send me some of that stuff on my phone, like, and you're supposed to play it and lay down and stuff, dude. I'll be asleep, dude.
Like the I don't know, some chants or something.
Yeah.
And they're called mantras.
Yeah, and you're
mantras.
You're in the ocean right now, you know. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm in Bossier.
Well, there are meditation apps, I believe.
I have one.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And I love it.
And there's nothing against them. It's just I don't think I'm ready to go there. You know, fishing's enough for me. So
well, and I mean, I gotta admit, there are things like sitting on the side of a mountain and just looking out there at what's there, you know, and going, wow, this is here all the time.
I miss the mountains.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people like find nature to be
I do.
Somewhere great to, like you said, when I go hiking, when I'm in the woods, that's where I feel the most peace. And I just look at it and I'm thinking, this is so beautiful. I'm quiet. You know, and I'm open and I'm peaceful, and that can be meditation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, to me, I mean, you get up, sun's coming up, you're out on a lake, it's glass, the sun's coming up, you know, whatever. That's awesome. That's as good as it gets for me. So, but yeah, and I mean, I don't understand why people say there's not some sort of higher power out there. If you haven't been in nature enough and been around, I don't understand how they can say there's not one when, you know, and look at some of the stuff and check it out, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I got to admit, man, it's been a long time since I've been, you know, but every once in a while, like when we go to California, you know, me and my son we'll be out there and just on the side of the mountain, just look out and go, wow, you know, and you can sit there and think, you know, but I always think about how, you know, this is always here, whether I'm here or not, this is always here and has been for a long time. You know, whatever scene I'm just happen to be looking at, you know, maybe the ocean or the mountains or, You know, Lake Pontchartrain was a good one. You know, I remember seeing the bald eagles out there, or watching a pelican fly 2 feet above the water for a really long period of time. I mean, some of those things that people just don't get to see. But yeah, you know, but there's only that brief moment of serenity, and then, you know, you're back off to the races.
Yep.
Which is probably why we need a program. If not, we'd always be meditating.
Yeah.
So, but there is that little bit of moment. Maybe our brains need that shut down for just, even if it's just a few seconds. I don't know. But, so prayer, right? Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God. For me, anyway, there's only a couple things in this program that I've done right, completely right. Number one, I prayed every day. Number two, I haven't drank. And, you know, since I really walked in the doors and accepted that this is what was going to have to happen in order for me to find a solution. And prayer has just been part of my life. I've traveled a lot. I've been all over the places, you know, lived months in a hotel. Just a whole lot of stuff that, you know, is different from the normal person. And no matter what, I've always managed to be able to pray at least once a day, and usually upon awakening. You know, I get up and I say my prayers, and I kind of get it out of my head. Whatever's going on in there, just get it out so that it ain't stuck in there, and just keep on going. But, you know, I hear people in meetings talk about they can pray all day, every day, you know, talk to God all the time, you know, or people that pray on their way to work. I can't do that, you know, because, you know, my car's kind of small. If I get down on my hands and knees in my car, I'm liable to end up on the side of the road talking to God in person.
Right.
But I do hear people that do that, you know, and that may be, you know, whatever works, you know. But, you know, what do you think about it, Jill? What do you think about prayer?
Well, I mean, I love it. It's something I do on a daily basis now. Now, I wasn't raised, you know, religious or in church, and I wasn't really taught to pray. I mean, my grandparents, when I'd stay there, would be like, I'd say that one prayer that's like, now I'll lay me down to sleep, which I always thought was creepy. You know, like, if I should die before I wake. As a kid, that really freaked me out.
It's kind of creepy. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, God, am I dying tonight? And, but I was introduced to it when I started recovery, and I really struggled with step 2 and step 3. And I really struggled with the praying thing. To me, I thought it was like, who am I talking to? This is really weird. There's no one there. But I started actually seeing and feeling the results of it. And it's something that I had to practice and continue to do. And I've just done it ever since. I don't know who I'm talking to. I don't know who's at the end of it. I like to think that my higher power is. And I just give it over, and I just talk.
Yeah.
I just talk. And, you know, my prayer has definitely changed throughout my sobriety. At first, it was like, okay, so this is the guy. I want the great job. I want the house, the car. And it was basically a Christmas list. And even in early sobriety, I thought if I prayed for it more, it'd happen quicker. And so I found myself praying all day long. And I was like, and I started getting really pissed because none of it was happening. And
like a telethon or something.
I was so mad. I was furious because I could see it happen with all my other friends. Like, why isn't this happening to me? And I mean, I just realized over time the dangers of comparing and what a selfish shithead prayers I was doing. So the thing is, I changed, and my sponsor was like, okay, I just want you to say 4 words a day. You wake up in the morning and say, help me. And when you go to bed at night, say, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Heard that.
And she started that. But over the years, it has evolved. And like I said, I do this every morning, and I start off with the serenity prayer. I love the 3rd step prayer, and I love the 7th step prayer. So I say all 3 of those when I wake up, and just kind of talk to God about, you know, his will in my life and blah, blah, blah. But I just recently changed it. I still would have some selfish prayers, and I just stopped doing that recently. And I don't think it was like ugly selfish, like give me this and give me that. It was not like that, but I'm just starting to leave myself out of it. And if anything, when I say, if it has anything to do with me, like how can I help people and be of more service? That's it. Help me to help other people. And I'm kind of leaving, like I said, leaving me out of it, but prayer is important for me. And, you know, I don't get the answers. I don't hear anything back that's saying do this or whatever, but I feel like I have something inside of me that tells me, and it's not words, it's intuition. It's a feeling. It is
your own personal little man in your trunk.
It's like my little.
Is that the same as Hodges guy he had in the toolbox?
No,
okay.
No, I'm just.
Well, it's like it's my soul, which my soul is God, and all those kind of things, and so I feel it, and it has worked out really well. It has, and like I love prayer, and to think that I just went on with life for so many decades. You know, I was just 35 when I got sober. I didn't pray. And if I did, I mean, there was one time I prayed when I was, you know, when I did too much coke because I thought I was having a heart attack.
Yeah.
And you know, the good old
speed prayers.
Yeah. I was like, if you let me live through this, because I was on a ball on the floor and I thought I was having the big one, the big heart attack. And yeah, I remember that prayer well. I did it again.
Well, it worked. I mean, you're here, you know, so it did work.
Yeah, but I didn't. I still continued to use.
Your end of the bargain. I guess.
No. I get a lot of peace with that.
I think too, starting with the selfish prayers, you know, and not knowing how to pray, like you're talking about when you get here, and just keeping it very simple. I know I say that all the time, but it really is very simple, and prayer has evolved for me too, and it was help me, thank you for the day, and that was all I would go with right off the bat. And you know, now it involves other people and hearing situations and going, oh, I need to pray for that person, you know, and that's where it's at today. And it is kind of a walk around throughout the day as I'm going. If something comes up, I'll pray about it as I'm going along through my day. And you know, sometimes it's a lot of it in a day. Some of them is not very much, but yeah. And you always have that intuition, that feeling like God's kind of steering you in a direction or nudging you the way you should go on a situation. And you know,
to be quite honest with you, it's very rare in my life previously to even stop and think about something. You know what I mean? Like even long enough to pray for it, but stopping and thinking about it. Usually it was a decision made on a whim.
Yeah.
And not a good one.
Yeah. It was like more emotional decision rather than irrational.
Right. So now at this point we're involving God. Because we got to think about the second, you know, praying only for knowledge of His will for us.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. Selfish too. It's like we're praying for, well, here's what I need out of this deal, but in actuality, God's plan may be different than it may not line up with my angle on the deal. You know,
it never does.
Yeah, really never does. So,
well, and what I want probably isn't good for me.
Right. That's totally it.
I mean, it's hard to convince people that too.
Yeah,
sure. You know, one of the things I remember whenever I hear people, especially newcomers, you know, and they'll be like our first initial 1 or 2 meetings, and they'll tell you, I'm the type of person that, you know, and then you can leave in whatever part that comes after that. I'm the type of person. And the truth is, 6 months later, you'll be still, you know, sponsoring them, and they'll, man, I don't know what kind of person I am now. I don't know. You know, it's like we just don't know, you know. And I'm the kind of person that's let alcohol and drugs make every decision for me for the past 25, 30 years. And you know what I mean? And so now all of a sudden I've got 3 weeks and I'm the type of person that, you know, and it's really, and I'm not talking about anybody individual in particular. I'm just saying that I just hear that is one of the biggest, you know, I like to see things in order to believe them, you know, and I might have been that way at one time too, and then
I was too. But I was 38 years old, and for the first time, got a 30-day sobriety chip, and then a 60-day one, and a 90-day one, and I went, "Oh, I'm seeing it right now."
Well, and that's what I said. I said, "You're gonna. I need to see like something has to happen. Yeah. I need some miracles," and that's it. I started staying sober. My panic attacks went away for the first time in 20 years. Yeah, I smiled. Around 60 days, I started feeling like happy.
Yeah.
I started feeling good when and then I would like be like, well, that is all what's the word I'm looking for? I wasn't sure about the higher power. I was like, this is a physiological
coincidence.
No, I said it was a physiological thing. The drugs are getting out of my system, and so this is why all this is happening.
Good things happen when drugs leave your system.
Great things happen. But that's what I attributed to at first. But then more miracles started happening, and they still do.
Isn't that crazy? I mean, I will say this, though. After a short amount of time in recovery, it seems like they slow down.
Oh, yeah.
But realistically, we just kind of quit looking.
My sponsor taught me how to look for them.
Yeah.
And she said, she called them penny miracles. And I loved that. And it was just, it's literally like the other day I found $5 in my coat pocket. It's that time of year, guys. You bust out the coats and you're like, oh, shit. And I was just like, thanks, God.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and like now I look, I guess at first you're looking and things are changing really fast, but now I look back and I go, oh man, look at this past year, this, and this. And it will be bigger stuff, but it was done by the same small changes, but you don't think about the small changes as much.
Right.
And then it leads up to something big. And I look back and go, how did that happen? Like, and so, yeah, it's awesome though.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about it, man.
Well, prayer here's the thing. If I would say this, I grew up praying. Like it just really, when I started drinking really heavily about the age 27 to 38, so that 11 years right there, I really didn't pray a whole lot. When I did, it was, half-hearted or I would pray for the God to help me stop drinking and then get up and go drink, Mm-hmm. I mean, like he's going to spill it every time I go to grab it, like that's the illusion of it. But prayer had always been a big part of my life, but where I ran into trouble was, can prayer help me stop drinking? Really? I mean, really, can it help me stop drinking? It doesn't make a whole lot. I never equated the two, Mm-hmm. And our book talks about this is a spiritual solution to a physical, all kind of different things you hear, but you don't really hear them when you're a newcomer. And I can honestly say prayer works.
Yeah.
I mean, it works. If I don't even know in the beginning if you have to believe it works, but it works.
I didn't believe it worked.
Yeah.
And it did. And I remember one thing was when I moved into the halfway house, I sat on the stoop and on the porch and I thought, and I just prayed. I was like, God, I'm not gonna be able to do this if I would continue to have cravings, if I still want to use and have, bad anxiety or whatever that means. And that's about the point, like it was lifted. It was just like, I just haven't had a desire since then.
Yeah.
And that's a huge miracle for me.
That's a miracle for everybody.
Yeah.
That is one, I can honestly say, there are a lot of things in this program I can explain, right? Mm-hmm. The science of it. If you've ever been to rehab, spent any amount of time in these centers, listening to some of the counselors or some of the RNs that talk and listen, a lot of the stuff you can explain. I get it. But there's a couple things in this program I cannot get. And asking God to remove the obsession to drink actually working, okay? But you have to believe. You have to really believe.
I don't know if I believed then.
Boy, I didn't believe either.
And I did the same thing.
Not originally.
Yeah, no.
I didn't believe he would take the obsession away, but he did. How about this? I believed once it was gone that he's the one that did it.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
If that makes any more
Absolutely,
sense. Maybe
it does.
It.
Yeah, and mine was, it's, hey, I either need to believe, even if I don't think he can, I'm going to try to believe or blow my brains out. Which one do I have? So I'll try this for a minute, and then if not, and then all of a sudden, like I said, 30 days, 60 days. And I'm like, I can see this. Like, there's no other explanation for this, you know, and that's where we started.
And I agree. Like that one miracle taking away the obsession, like the thoughts just poof gone. And the other one was when I was first getting off all the substances, and my counselor, I was still really nervous and scared I was going to have a panic attack, or they would come back automatically, you know, I would still have them. And she's like, you need to surrender that. And at first I was like, say what? And I didn't even know what that meant. And other than like waving the white flag, I surrender.
Turn yourself in at the police station.
Exactly. And so she goes, you need to pray about it. And I did start praying about the panic attacks and surrendering all of that. And like I said, I haven't had one since. Like I had them every day for 20 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it was horrific, like institutionalized, tons of Xanax. And I just stopped, and it's just gone.
Just gone.
It's just disappeared. That is God.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Prayer is, man, I probably could talk a whole episode just alone about prayer.
Yeah.
And I remember when I first got to the rooms, the older people in the rooms, the long timers or old timers, whatever you want to call them, they would be saying, you know, if you don't think prayer works, try it. Just try it. See what happens, you know. And still to this day, you know, some of the times that's the only way I can keep my sanity is just, you know, sitting there and just having, because, you know, so here's another thing. We run into it in the rooms and we hear about it a lot, but I give my will to God and then I take it back. I give my will to God and then I take it back. Well, how do you keep from taking it back? Prayer.
Yeah.
For me anyway. I just have to constantly keep, number one, you feel it when it comes back because you don't want it. And then what do I do? What do I do if I have this? Okay, I had to start over with this. So this young lady that we just talked to earlier, we got a special episode out on her today. April S. She plays guitar, right? Mm-hmm. And I try to play guitar, and I'm going somewhere with this. So I'll work on something, a piece of music for an hour, and then it doesn't matter if I keep doing it. I'm going to keep screwing it up, no matter what. For the rest of the time, I do it every day, every time. But if I walk away from it and think about it from another angle, and then go back to it, even the next day or a couple hours later, I figure it out. Okay. Whenever there's something difficult situation in my life, okay, I used to react right then with whatever I had as experience. I would react on the spot with whatever I had at my fingertips at that second, because that's an emotional decision. Now I can walk away from it. I can pray. I can look at it from another angle. That's that intuitive thought. And then I can go back to it. May not be able to solve the problem, but at least I can feel better about it and look at it from a whole nother angle. And a lot of times I realize that the problem is not as serious as I had made it to begin with as well. That is also another benefit of prayer.
Yeah.
Just stepping away from whatever difficult situation it is in life. And we talk about that, the pause. We talk about that in here. I believe it's right here in Step 11. When we become agitated or doubtful, as we go through the day, we pause when agitated or doubtful and ask for the right thought or action. We constantly remind ourselves we are no longer running the show. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's just a constant reminder that I'm no longer running this show.
Or it's like a surrender of types.
Yeah.
Of type. Wait,
yeah, of what? A type. Surrender of a type. I get that too. That makes perfectly good sense. So, I guess that is a way of looking at it. And prayer, though, to me, just a lot of times, just when things get, I don't like the word stressful. I just don't like using those terms. But when they get a little overbearing, that you got to get down and say, hey, look, I got to remember. And you brought up the third step prayer. Mm-hmm. That is just number one. Remind me I am not as important as I think I am. Right?
I agree.
I'm just not that big of a show, that is something that I've been in some different situations, moving around as much as I do. And I tell you what, man, sometimes just getting down and saying that third step prayer, right, wherever I'm at, whatever I'm doing, and just going at it, and that makes me feel better, you know. And if it makes me feel better, I can generally function a little better, you know. And again, I go back to this. Besides the initial lifting of the obsession to drink, what does all this have to do with drinking? Really?
Exactly.
You know, this is about living. This is not really too terribly much about alcohol or drugs at this point. You know, I'm gonna the third step prayer, it says, God, I offer myself to thee to build with me and to do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do thy will. Not once in there does it say anything about alcohol.
Yeah, exactly.
Or drugs. Matter of fact, the biggest thing we're asking God to remove from us is self, right? So if I think about that real hard, the biggest problem is me. And how do I do? Well, what do I do about me? Well, I don't do anything except for suit up and show up, turn my will and my life over. By the way, just because I'm the guy talking on your podcast doesn't mean I do any of this perfect. By no means. This is something that just, as the situations arise, I remember or I'm reminded, and that's part of having an active program of recovery, right? Mm-hmm. I just remember there is something I can do other than this.
Yeah.
Than whatever I'm, you know, this young lady, we just heard someone talk about that fourth DUI. Mm-hmm. You know, have you ever had one, Matt?
Nope.
Yeah,
should have had.
Yeah, I've had one.
100,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I can tell you, I've never had 4. I've never had 2, but I can only imagine that feeling of having 4. Right? I can only imagine that, and that's it. Don't matter what I do at this point. Go to rehab. You know, I could go hand out flowers at the airport. I mean, adopt some kids from other countries. It doesn't matter, right? I got 4. And the government coming for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So I might need and yet we sit here and we listen to her story, and that just didn't come to pass. It just did not happen. Now I'm not saying it don't happen for other people, but for her, something intervened in her life that took away whatever that was, but it replaced it with something else. You know, if you're not gonna go to jail, you're going to have an active program of recovery.
Yeah.
And then you can hear her talk about her family and her kid and all that other stuff, and you can see that was a good swap.
Yeah, I agree. Because, like, what that void, that reason why I drank, the reason why I used after I drank was still there. And that needed to be filled with something, you know, and it definitely didn't need to be men or any other maladaptive behavior that I thought was okay. It was God that I had to do. And so seeking God through prayer and meditation and doing all that, I've been able to fill that void, and I'm okay with me. And I don't need anything to make me feel different, because I feel just fine majority of the time.
Yeah. And then in the time that you don't, what happens?
Like, I'll go to a meeting. I'll go to more meetings. Like, I know what to do when that happens. I will be at more meetings than I normally go to. I'll be helping with my sponsees. I mean, I'm doing whatever I can to make sure, because I want that gone. Yeah. I do not like feeling less than in the effect of, like, emotional wise.
Well, I've seen people come into meetings, man, and you can tell, you know, and these are people with years, you know, right around our time, maybe a little less, maybe a little more, but you can tell something's going on.
Life still happens. I can get pissed off. I can have a bad day. I can get upset and sad, depressed. I can get anxious.
Last Friday night, I work at a treatment place. They had some people coming to do a meeting on a Friday night. Nobody showed up, so I had about 30 seconds notice. They're all down there for their meeting, so I start the meeting, end up doing it. The topic was, you're all 30 days off drugs and alcohol. Now what do we do? You know, we're all still there. That's the problem. And we got on that subject and it went on for a while. And that's what I figured out in here was I got that 30-day chip and the 60 and the 90 and all that good stuff, but I was still there and all that crap was still there and I didn't know how to deal with it. And, that's why people still sit in these meetings 10, 20, 30 years later. And
that stuff
because life's just happening.
Yeah. And that stuff can come
beings.
back so easily. And like, I can't afford for all that to come back.
Sure.
Because I know it's not gone.
Sure.
I definitely have the ability to bring all that back if I want to.
And we do. We have ability to bring it back, but we also have the tools and the way to keep it at bay if we do the things we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just not a wait. It's not a pause and stay neutral. It's either work on it or it's going back the other way.
Yeah.
For
Action.
me, that's the only two choices I get.
I agree.
I don't get to just stop and go, okay, I'm 5 years sober. I'm happy with myself right now. I'm stopping all this stuff and I'm going to stay just like this. It doesn't work that way.
Well, and that's my trigger. I mean, like if that happens, that's what I know. Like, oh shit, I've got to step it up because like it's either that or right, go back out. And I just, like I said, that's not an option.
And I don't know how long it would be if I just stopped everything. I don't know how long it would be to actually picking up a drink or a drug, but the mental, it's like you're talking about people show up in meetings and they haven't been in there in a little while and you can tell they're kind of jacked up on whatever, something bothering them. Mm-hmm. And that's where I notice it. It's those thoughts and, self-pity bull crap and stuff like that,
Resentment, anger,
sure,
all
absolutely.
of it.
So, but yeah, it's funny to talk to people and they go, oh, I don't have, I got the drug stopped and it's like a wave of magic wand. You're free at last, and that's great. But
yeah, but then you're batshit crazy.
But yeah. And then it's like, now we really start working on stuff, know? So
you're irritable, restless, and discontent. And you're like, am I going to make it?
And I think this is funny. And it's funny how this program goes in a circle too, because this was all said to me when I came in and was in treatment, but we go down and we have the morning meditation and these people have been there 3 days and I'm not picking on them, but because we did the same thing I did. And they go, I'm a recovered, whatever it might be, addict or alcoholic. I am in recovery. And I go, man, you've been here 3 days. You don't even have that stuff out of your system. And they're like, well, I'm in recovery. And I go, did you make your bed this morning? Were you courteous to staff? Were you out of your room on time? Did you go to class that's all recovery. You have a long way to go. And, I was glad it was put to me pretty point blank, right off the bat. And, there's a lot to recovery other than just, I'm not using something.
Yeah. But the whole prayer and meditation thing, I think that entails a lot more than just a prayer. There was so much I got to learn over, and I'm still learning over all these years when it comes to prayer, like learning surrender and learning, what exactly can I surrender over to God? What exactly is the footwork I need to do? I learned about control, the need to control and letting that go again, by like surrender. And I'm sure I could go on and on and on about all the spiritual things through prayer that I've been able to learn.
Here's what I've learned too with that. Things are the surrendering the things when you get to that point. I've gotten to the point where when bad, I'm using quotation, stuff happens in life. Now it used to be the sky's falling, everything's over, we're burning it to the ground. Mm-hmm. Now it's like, I want to see how this is going to come out. Because it ain't me controlling it, but something cool is going to happen to change this and flip it. And so I'm not even irritated with it. I'm more like, I can't wait to see how this turns out.
Yeah. And like my sponsor suggested, it being a puzzle. And I've stepped back from the puzzle and I'm just kind of looking at what God is, what his next move and what puzzle piece he's going to put there and learning how to just let that happen and not insert myself into that.
Sure.
Through prayer.
Sure.
Yeah. Wake up every morning and pray.
Yeah.
That's what I do. Every morning. And I pray every night when I go to bed. Or right before I go to bed, I pray every night. And
I'm not the best at that.
Yeah. So I didn't for a long time. And then I guess it was around year 7 that I was driving back and forth every day from Shreveport to Monroe for a meeting. And on my way back to Monroe, I would always, or on the way to Shreveport and back from Monroe, I would see accidents.
Yeah.
And it got to where I would just be so thankful I made it home, because and I see a lot. Like over that 2.5 year period, I saw a lot. Fatalities, some really, really bad rollovers, just some really bad accidents. And I got to where whenever I got home, I would start thanking God just for letting me get home. And I'd be home, left the meeting at 7. I'd be home by 8:15, somewhere in there. Mm-hmm. But I would always, just pray. And I just, that's what I would do.
Yeah. I try to, if I remember, to say thank you. I think that's important.
Well,
gratitude.
Yeah. I think that is a big deal, and I start my morning prayer off, and the prayer I pray today is just like a continuation of the prayer I started praying back, all those years ago. Because I don't want to say this out of context, but you don't have to wait till step 11 to start praying.
All right.
Okay. And so I heard that in every meeting, praying only for knowledge of God's will for us and the power to carry that out. And that might be all I can pray in the very beginning is, one of the worst things I can do is pretend I know God's will. Mm-hmm. And then whatever happens, that's just what happens. It may be tragic, it may be heartbreaking, it may be great, but whatever happens, absolutely happens. My sponsor talks about a lot that, I don't know if something's good. I don't know if something's bad. It just is, and, but, and I don't even know where I was going with that. I just know that the prayer for me is probably the only thing that I've managed to pull off, because I don't get to go to a meeting every day of the week.
Yeah.
I don't get to, I do pretty much open up some literature 7 days a week. And I do talk to another alcoholic just about every day of the week. And it may not be about anything that has to do with alcohol. But their prayer is the one thing that is just a constant. That's 7 days a week, twice a day, that I do get to pull off, and I'm still sober, and I do believe that is what keeps me sober, is that relationship with my higher power. I believe once that you hear a lot of these folks that leave and they come back, and it's never good if you even get back to the rooms. What's out there is never good for these guys. I've never heard a good story yet.
Oh God, never.
And then they get back, and they you ask them what happened, and they I stopped going to meetings.
Yep.
Stop calling my sponsor, stop praying. And, it's almost like that's just the final drop right there, is the stop praying part. So in a nutshell, if I had to offer up a suggestion, it'd just be to pray. Just pray.
Yeah.
And I, like me and Randy, I like using that as an example. We don't really go anywhere outside of the club, do anything. We don't go to events together, or, we don't do any of that together, right? But we have a relationship and we know each other. And that's because for the past 12 years, we've sat beside each other in meetings and just talked. And that's what I had to do with my relationship with God. Just sit there and just talk. And over the course of time, it has turned into a not what can you do for me type relationship. It's just a talking relationship. And there's a little bit of peace in there, And I'm not knocking formal meditation. I think if somebody can do that, great. It doesn't say anywhere in that step it has to be anybody's version of meditation or prayer, for that matter.
Yeah.
Because different religions pray different ways.
Absolutely.
And I think that it's just the conscious contact with God that's just very important for us. So let's move on to our next topic. And that is, I don't have a segue. I was trying to think, how can I segue straight into that? But I had a text message from one of our listeners the other night. Want to talk about blackouts. Do you know what a blackout is, man?
Just basically unconsciousness while you're conscious.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Jill?
Yes, I'm very familiar with the old blackouts. I mean, they went on for pretty much my whole drinking career.
Well, I was really surprised when I got into AA and found out that not everybody has blackouts.
I was too.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so frequent. I mean, it was every night. I mean, and then when I heard people don't have that, I was like, You've never had a blackout? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And I probably have had a lot more than I even know of.
Well, I don't know the physiological explanation for a blackout.
I don't know if that's just freaky.
Well, here's the deal. Because I blacked out a lot. I had a lot of blackouts. And let's just say that I'm sitting here right now and I got a microphone in front of me and headphones. And all of a sudden, I realize what's going on. And I have no recollection. The last thing I remember was eating dinner with my parents on Tuesday. Mm-hmm. And someone brought me a glass of whatever it was. And now I'm talking on a microphone and I don't have, and it's actually, it can be comical. It sounds comical. It's horrifying because you do not know what you did. Did I go to work in a whole blackout? What did I say to people? What am I going to have to explain? Who did I call? Who did I text? Did I hurt somebody?
And like, I don't know, the next day or whenever you find out, to me, that's horrifying because it's like, I did what? And I mean, and I've had some like really bad experiences in blackouts. And I mean, I came to in a blackout where I could have had a charge for aggravated assault and battery and destruction of property. And I came to on the ground in cuffs. And I didn't even know like where I was, what happened. And that was scary because I like during that blackout, I got beat up real bad by a dude. And I remember screaming when I got back to my house because I didn't know what happened. Like and I still don't to this day. Like what happened? I had a hematoma on my forehead that stuck out like an inch and half my face was purple because blood had leaked in the inside of my face. I look like a freak. I still don't know. I don't like knowing those kind of things.
Well, the internet tells us this. Alcohol-related blackouts are gaps in a person's memory for events that occurred while they were intoxicated. These gaps happen when a person drinks enough alcohol to temporarily block the transfer of memories from short-term to long-term storage known as memory consolidation in a brain area called the hippocampus. Hippocampus? Yeah, hippocampus.
And I'll give you the simpler version of that if you want to hear another explanation. I'm not going to tell it on here, but look up Robin Williams on YouTube explaining blackouts, and he'll tell you his version of what that's called. Pretty funny, but
I mean, I've blacked out weekends, like a whole weekend to Orlando.
I never had that long, but I would wind up somewhere and go, "How did I get here?" And
the day I got sober, I had woke up from a blackout.
Yeah.
What was the longest time that you knew of you were blacked out?
Realistically, 2 days.
Yeah, a weekend. There's been, and like even in
There's
sobriety,
a movie called The Lost Weekend.
Yeah, I have a lot of those. It is especially like in sobriety and then seeing or talking to someone in the past and they're like, hey, remember that time we... And I had that happen to me in recovery, and it freaked me out because I was like...
It's why my war stories suck so bad, because I don't remember them.
Yeah.
I know. And like, I don't know, just the stuff that happened, I was like, wow. I mean, like, it just was... Because that wasn't me. I got violent and blackouts. I punched my best friend in the face, who's a dude, in the middle of a bar because he took my keys.
Well, a blackout usually occurs when the blood alcohol content reaches 0.14 or 14%, which is almost 2 times the legal limit. That's when it generally happens.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
Short circuit right there.
Well, they are. I mean, blackouts are very real and they're very scary. I mean, I guess the biggest part of mine was you don't remember anything. And then people will say, this is what you did, or you don't remember this, or you told me this, or especially when people call you and go, hey, man, we're out here on the golf course waiting on you, and you had agreed to go play golf while you were in a blackout, and you don't have a clue what they're talking. And then you're a drunk whenever they go, you don't have any idea what I'm talking about, do you? And you're like, no, I don't.
Or wake up to the text.
Or show up at the bar one weekend and a woman that looks like Johnny Cash comes over to you and goes, "Hey, how you doing?" And I'm going, "I'm good.
We've been married
remember
for a
me?"
week, man.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, I don't remember
But the
you.
thing is, like, we're laughing, but these are absolutely horrifying. Yeah. And we get used to them and we don't even, it doesn't faze us. And for most people, I feel that happens to them. They're like, oh, I'm done. Well, that scared the shit out of me. We just keep going.
Keep doing it. Perseverance, baby.
Oh, man.
And it just gets weirder and weirder. And the things that we do and the things that we find out we've done, we're just like, oh, well.
Yeah. It is definitely. So here's the thing. You know, our stories did not end it tragically, right? But there are people who wake up in jail and they have wiped out an entire family on the road.
Yeah.
Or ran through a school stop and hurt someone, or unfortunately committed crimes that would put them in jail for the rest of their lives. That these are things they normally wouldn't do, and it's a real thing. And someone asked us to talk about it. You know, I can only share my experience, and I would wake up or come to, however I looked at it, and not have any idea what had been going on for a day or two. And I would have to look through my phone records to see who I'd called, or look through my text messages, who I'd called. I'd go look in my car to see if I'd hit anything, try to piece back together something that cannot be pieced back together. And then you get paranoid. Do I have a job? Do I... You know, and you just kind of wait. You have to sit there and wait it out. And
right.
Then, unfortunately, that became a norm, a regular every week occurrence.
And then there's just the anxiety and all that on top of it, going, I don't know what happened. So
yeah. So
I was waiting on something.
But there's a blackout, but there's also a brownout. Yeah. And there is a difference. The brownout is when you
shit yourself.
No. This is when you are in and out of consciousness, or not necessarily consciousness, but you're in and out. So you would just have like fragments of time that you remember throughout the night. It's not a full blackout. I think I
did a lot of those.
I think I just skipped that part and went straight to blackouts.
No, I had a lot of that kind
rolling brownouts.
Yeah. Man, it was, yeah. No, I mean, I think I didn't have the 2-day, like lose a decade or whatever like Mike did, I don't remember the 80s, that kind of thing. But, yeah, mine was a little more short term, it was a lot of don't know how I got home. Where am I at right now?
Yeah.
Don't remember getting home, yeah. So.
Yeah. I mean, and just like waking up every morning, I would walk out into my living room and be like, oh, and I'd see pizza and the box or some takeout. I'm like, oh, I guess I had tacos last night.
Yeah. Or somebody else did.
Yeah.
We don't know who had them.
Woke up one time and had a sombrero laying in bed beside me. And I'm like, oh, what the hell's a sombrero?
That's a hell of a party right there.
I heard something one time, a guy said he woke up and he thought the guy was like, I think you peed yourself. And he goes, I hope it was me. I hope it's not somebody else's pee that's on me.
Yeah.
You don't know.
And also the thing about blackouts is doing things you never thought you would do. Things that, I don't even know how to put it. Things I wouldn't have done normally. Yeah. And I had a lot of shame, so much shame because like I wouldn't do that otherwise.
Right.
And,
yeah, I get that.
And it happened frequently and I was just like, shit. And it's not something that I think a lot of people want to talk about, but I seem to keep on gathering shame and more shame because every time like I would hear about it from someone over so many years, it just was like, it's horrifying.
And it can keep popping up too. Like,
yeah, like I said,
a year later, hey, remember me? No,
Yeah. And it happened, with me in early recovery. This guy was like, hey, remember that one weekend? I was like,
who are you? What?
Yeah. And it's humiliating. And the stuff, actually, to be honest with you, the stuff that I have done in blackouts, I like to consider it pitiful and incomprehensible demoralization.
Sure.
That is absolutely what it is. especially the night that I was almost taken to jail, but the guy didn't press charges.
I like that. Pitiful and incomprehensible demoralization. The more about alcoholism talks about these blackouts right there, because that is exactly how I felt when I'd come out of a blackout.
Yeah, yeah, and like I said, sometimes I still get to find stuff out if I run into someone, and it's just
all these years later.
Yeah,
It's been one hell of a blackout, Bo.
yeah. I mean, and this was like 20 something years ago.
Meet
And I'm
some
like,
guy named Hector. And he's like, you remember we were in jail together in Mexico? You're like,
What jail?
what?
yeah,
Got the wrong.
but that's how I always felt.
That
like,
never really happened, by the way.
what?
I'm just saying.
And it's
I had a guy hit me up on social media, and he's like, "You remember me?" No, sir. Remember my brother? Nope. Y'all did this. You did. You don't remember? And then it's a story, and I'm like, I was never there. Like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Wasn't me, bro.
He even described the truck I was driving. I'm like, he was there. I don't guess I was. You know,
He was there.
he must have. My truck was there. It may have done it, but yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Definitely. How about this for blackouts? It's definitely better living without them than it was living
oh my
with them.
gosh, yes, it is.
Yeah.
And when I think about all the time that I was drinking and driving in blackouts, it was often, multiple times a week.
Well, we have just about reached our time. It is what's today? The 3rd?
3rd of
Today
December?
today is December the 3rd. So we are 17 days away from Jill getting her pot-belly pigs. Are they pot-belly?
No, they're minis.
They're mini pot-bellies?
No pot belly.
No pot-belly.
I'll
They're
tell this
just-
on the air. We talk about waking up and praying. My little girl, Jill, sent pictures of her pigs that are coming. And I showed my little girl the other day, and yesterday morning she wakes up, she rolls over, she's half asleep. She looks at me and says, "Can we go to Jill's and see those pigs?" That was the first thing on her mind. And I said, "Well, they're not there yet, but we're going to go check them."
What are you going to name them, Jill?
So they're going to be Chunk and Bud.
Chunk and Bud.
Chunk and Bud.
2 dudes.
Yep.
Yeah. Just hanging out. How big do they get?
I think around 70 pounds.
Ah, you can get a good 70 slices out of
I
that.
don't think that's a mini pig, dude. It's 70
Okay,
pounds.
so
That's
no.
a Rottweiler.
mini.
Okay, so a mini pig
Lord.
is defined as any pig that is under 300 pounds.
Oh, God.
Yeah, Google it.
They can get up to 300 pounds.
I have a book and it's on Pig Facts.
Well, we believe you.
What about on women? Is that anything?
Hey, shh. Just shut your mouth.
Big facts. All right.
How they define them?
So we're looking forward to the pigs. I hope that happens. And
Yeah.
Sorry, Jill.
And Christmas
did everybody,
and
yeah, Christmas and
everything
New
else.
Year's. Did everybody have a good Thanksgiving?
yeah, it was
we
very
did.
pleasant.
We did. Yeah,
Good.
it was good. Good. Nobody got shot or anything. It was
Yeah,
good.
ours was just eat and leave.
Nice,
that's,
basically.
that's all we did. And
Yeah.
then I took a great nap, like I always do, and ate leftovers.
And it really, I think I washed my car or something. So
I tried to go catch Miss Faye some crappie, but was not successful. But it was still fun. So
Well, hey, we got listeners in Ireland, the United Kingdom, Taiwan, shout out to Ann, Bulgaria, Australia, Denmark, and Saudi Arabia. And we don't ever want to forget that those are folks that just aren't here in the U.S. that still listen to us ramble on week after week. We do appreciate you so much. You can reach us at G&B Bossier. That's G&B Bossier at gmail.com. Bossier is how you spell Bossier. And then you can reach us at the new phone number, which is area code 817. Let me pull it up here. Area code 817-988-2530 if you want to leave a voicemail or shoot us a text. And then you can always find us on social media. I'm currently working on a website. Shout outs. We got to send shout outs to Sheila and Miss Faye and Michelle and Rhonda and Kim and Roger and Debbie. We got Bree. We got Amy. We got Larry and Judy. We have
Danielle
and
listens.
then who was the one that won the award? We have Brian.
Brian.
He won an award for, I don't know.
The Spotify thing that he listened to the most, whatever that is.
Yeah, Brian, you're just as we don't know what that is either. We didn't know you could get that. So it's not like we set it up. Do invite everyone to visit our Spotify page, though. If you ever want to go back and listen to some old episodes, that'd be pretty cool of you to do, so I'd appreciate that. But signing off for another episode. Thank you for listening to episode 30, everyone out there. This has been the Grouch and the Brainstorm from Rule 62 Studios in Bossier City, Louisiana.